How's everybody tonight? I hope everybody's doing good tonight. We had a pretty good night last night with the daughter of Echo that came on, and I think everything went real well. I am going to share. I wanted everybody to be able to get over $1,000 to the GoFundMe page last night, and we got that before we left. We had $980, and just prior to coming on here, let me see, it's at $1,365. Now this is the GoFundMe page. It's set up by Kelsey Smith, that is her daughter in this case, and she's basically increased what she wants to try to get $10,000, and the reason is she wants to, I told her she needs to buy posters and various things, and maybe even try to get a roadside sign up, some type of billboard sign up, and that costs money. People do not do that for free, so she's going to use some money for that. So if you could donate $5-10 towards that fund, I'm sure that she would appreciate it, and we would too. This is a page again. It's called Bring Echo Home, and there's a lot of unanswered questions to go with what really happened to Echo, and I think a lot of things may come out for the positive in the next few weeks, hopefully.
Okay, J9 says, great to see you. Suzanne and Echo have been found.
Suzanne? No.
And Echo. J9.
Suzanne has not been found unless they found her in the last 5 minutes. I've checked. And Echo, I have not heard if she's been found or not. If somebody could verify that for me, if she has been found. I know that Suzanne has not, unless it's been found in the last 5 minutes. And tonight we got my brother by another mother. He's going to be coming on and in a few minutes. And I got him waiting in the green room, as they say. And he'll be on here in just a minute. And all I did was share. I wanted him to look up things about this case and give me his professional opinion on what he thinks happened. And that's just one more good set of eyes, somebody that's been there and done that like I have, and I trust him. And he's going to be on here in just a second. I did want to bring up first here another missing person. We like to do this. This was reported out of November 30th of this year. A young mother from upstate New York is missing for nearly a month after she celebrated her 26th birthday with a night out with friends at a bowling alley in Queens. And Destini Smothers, I guess that's Destini Smothers, who has 2 children, lives in Troy, New York, but traveled to Queens to attend, was traveling to Queens to attend a funeral early November. According to family, she never made it to the funeral. And this is her here. She just last seen, let's see, 11:20 at bowling alley there in Queens, New York, confirmed by press release to Dateline. She is a mother. She's there's a picture of her. See, the family said that she'd gotten into an argument while in a black 2011 Toyota Camry on Grand Central Parkway, and she got out and walked away, leaving her purse, wallet, keys, and ID behind. Yeah, I wonder who said that. That is
her car.
Oh, that's her car?
That was her car. She
Wow.
got out of her car after her and her boyfriend.
Okay. Her and her boyfriend got into it.
Yeah.
Okay, well, there's another picture of her.
I misread.
5'1", tall, weigh 125 pounds, black hair, brown eyes, tattoo reads Kareem Jr. on her right wrist. She's wearing a black hoodie, sweatshirt, yellow and white lettering on the front, green camouflage jeans, light brown boots, and a gold hoop earrings in both ears, carrying a green handbag. And there's the numbers. If anybody's up in New York that might see her, they ask you to call the tip line there, 1-800-577-TIPS.
They're also having a candlelight vigil for her, I think on the 17th or 13th. It's on that. It's on that.
I never saw that on there.
You didn't see that on there? It was on there.
All right. Well, I'm going to bring Tony in. If y'all don't remember, Tony is a brother by another mother. And we worked together in our departments. We were very close by. And I asked him to take a look at this case. Are you on here with me, Tony?
Yes, I am.
Okay, good. Can
you hear me now?
I can hear you now. Last night it was unbelievable how bad the audio was. I was talking to a girl in Missouri, and it was terrible. It was horrible.
Probably had something to do with the area not having good internet.
Yeah, that's possibly for sure. Okay, I gave you the material and some stuff to look at with this case on Suzanne Morphew, and I'm going to pull this right up here. Up, that is the reward poster for Suzanne Morphew. I'm sure everybody on here is aware of that. We all have been following this case. There's been a lot of different theories about what has happened. I just changed my background there. I put Salada, Colorado background, so it gets me in the mood right here to listen to this. So go ahead. Let me hear what you say.
Well, I would have to say that this particular case, it has all the makings of a traditional motive, money trail, alibi. I think physical evidence has definitely been obtained. Maybe they're not sharing everything that they have. However, I would say based on the stuff that I was looking at and reading, it gives me somewhat of a bombshell of an inclination that there's probably a grand jury that is being entertained with some evidence about right now.
Yes, I agree that the problem is the last 4 years they've had a very political DA in there that just got defeated. And the DA that's coming in has got a history of law enforcement in her background. She was a police officer. She worked in all kinds of prosecutory roles. And she has vowed to catch up on all these cold cases. So I think that might be, I think after January, when she takes office, a grand jury could very well be impaneled. I would say so for sure. We have all said our individual suspects in this case. Do you feel like it is a domestic situation?
Yeah, I'm leaning towards that way.
There's a...
now, again, this is purely on what I've been able to see and what I've been able to hear in regards to some of the videos that they had from witnesses and what they were saying.
Right.
And then I also looked at, without giving a name of the suspect to tarnish anyone's character or name, after watching an individual give their testimony and what they were saying, I saw deception.
Yeah. Well, we can express our opinion on it.
Yeah,
and
right.
And my personal opinion is that my biggest person of interest is, of course, the husband. And that is my personal
opinion. Kind of like maybe a Peterson scenario. The only difference is we hadn't seen the affair person or whatever.
Yeah, that's just my opinion. I can have my personal opinion. If I was investigating this case, he would be my person of interest. Now, I've got some notes here that I read in other places, and put some stuff together. The things that has been brought out through other people on YouTube and involved in this case is, one, the things that they said, the supposedly bike ride that she did, and her husband automatically told, he called their church, he called other people, and he said a mountain lion has taken her off her bike. A mountain lion has taken her off. They never found a scrap of clothing. They never found a scrap of blood. They never found any of that evidence that a wild animal could have taken her away. I just don't find that feasible to me.
Now, the bike was also bent, or
yeah, supposedly bent, but
I'd hate to see the mountain lion that was able to bite into a bicycle and bend it.
Yeah, another thing too, the sheriff, I think, came out recently and said, one of the other YouTubers reported it, Plunder is one of the channels, reported that he is not, he's not saying that there was not a true bike ride, that he's not letting anything go. And I don't blame him, if you're, if you do not want to disclose anything on the case, that, you know what I'm saying? I don't, if his sheriff don't want to put anything out there, that's his thing.
Well, I would have to say this, and I think you would agree. The alibi in itself is pretty much on a wet paper towel. It's not going to hold much weight. Yes, could there be an issue of a debate of whether or not the employees that he fired or terminated or whatever could have some sort of malice and wanting to get back at him or something like that? Maybe, but the things all putting together, as we know, pieces, because when it comes down to solving any crime, it's all about the pieces. If you put the right pieces together and they obviously fit and match, then that's what you look into more validity. So we have to clue in what is factual and clue in what maybe is questionable but maybe factual. Then we have to look in what is not able to be proven as factual at all. Now, the information that was obtained in reference to the smell of bleach, I would, if it was me, and I feel like that based on the fact that they had the FBI, the CBI, the Sheriff's Department, all of those entities were, I guess you'd say, cohesively working together, you would think that the recordings of various, not necessarily the computers, what I start to say, but the cameras of whether it be the Holiday Inn, places of interest even throughout. When we start looking at any, what we would consider a high scenario of a felony heinous case such as murder, you really are not supposed to let anything be unturned. You would want to go back, and if you can get video footage that that they were at a location somewhere, you kind of go back from point A to point B for that. And there was obviously, the issue was they went to town on Saturday and had a meal apparently, and then they returned back to the home, but then lo and behold, he is supposedly the very next day already in another town close by or whatever, that he went to do a job that there wasn't really that job formable to be done based on what was given as evidence or statements from witnesses and such. So it would be very interesting to trace his phone records, her phone records. Of course, they've mentioned multiple times in some of the stuff that I've read. But I have a feeling that they definitely know more than what is being given out to the media. And as you know, sometimes in cases, we don't want to give out too many of what we have is our speculation clues, as well as our what we consider to be probably factual, but we need to kind of investigate to figure out that in fact these are things that are plausible and they do have the pieces, if you will. So I would entertain that. That's why I told you earlier in the start of our conversation this evening. It wouldn't surprise me if they have in fact got some substantial evidence and they are just not giving it away right now. And especially if you're saying that there's a transition in that county with a district attorney, and then you got one that's outgoing. Most of the time, the outgoing politicians don't really care about doing anything anyway. They're just going to get their check and go to the house. So, and I hate to say it that way, but facts are facts. We're all pretty much U.S. citizens, and we know kind of like how things run when it comes to the politicians.
Yeah.
So, short of that, having fresh eyes, fresh mind going into a district attorney seat, and they're really wanting to give it their all, that might be the reason why this case is maybe not had a grand jury already impaneled or something like that. Only thing I'd say in reference, though, even for a grand jury, I don't necessarily always agree with, quote, a grand jury. I think that I'm just telling you, I've done it with some of my cases. Even I'll go on ahead and I would get a warrant if I have physical, tangible, elements and evidence to articulate that I should be able to swear out and get a warrant. Then an arrest can be made without a grand jury, is what I'm trying to say. And then that case can go to grand jury even after a warrant and an arrest is made, and then that's most of the time the way grand juries even hear some cases anyway. So they could or they could not wait. However, just as they say, different strokes for different folks when it comes to how they run their investigations in their given counties or whatever. But
I had talked about this before. I had explained what a grand jury was to everybody, and how it applies. It's basically 19 citizens. That's all it is, and they decide if they have a majority or not, whether they want to take the case to court. They're not convicting him or of anything, and the defense attorney's not in there. It's just the prosecutor. Now, what I said before on this. That I thought that law enforcement is not going to say anything. They're not going to say anything about it. But the reason why they're not going to just get a warrant, I think, because this money's involved. There's a lot of money. He lives in a $1.7 million house. He has a lot of money. So anytime a lot of money's involved in political standpoint, they're going to run it through a grand jury just so that the DA doesn't look like they're kind of holding everything out. One thing.
Let's look at the facts in this case.
Okay, let me ask you one thing. Did you think this is? If you read this, I don't know if you did or not. There's been 2 search warrants done at this house. 2. Now the initial search warrant, because they have a missing person case, maybe a homicide, you're pretty easy to get a search warrant. But a second search warrant,
they've got that. They would have had to have some. That's right. Well, that's what I'm about to say. For them to get a second one, they would have really had some substantial probable cause to believe something was there. And now you've got the elderly lady that gave the testimony of hearing the machinery, and her interview that I watched. I think she was spot on. I believed everything she said. She articulated it well. She literally was almost as if, as they make a movie and you have this perfect person, to give. She fit that profile. But, she told it like it was. So I think that that was substantial. I think that I would be interested. And I would think that they've probably done this, but if I'm wrong, then they need to definitely do this. I would have went back and done a canvas of the hotel people that clean the rooms and things like that. I would have, of course, looked at all the footage of the hotel, when he came there, when he left, what he brought in. Did he bring sacks? If he brought sacks, I'm gonna go and get a search warrant on his credit cards, chase the money, as they say, and find out what might have been bought or spent somewhere. Then you articulate back from that. Most stores have barcodes for everything that's bought now, so you can go and you can check the register on the entry of whatever somebody's bought, and then you turn around and that's how you know what they bought. These are things that, you know, they've been going on for the, I don't know, the last 5 or 10 years, or things like that. So, I mean,
just to bring you up to speed on that, they did have cameras at the hotel, had cameras everywhere. And supposedly CBI, they had a witness to come forward that said CBI pulled the camera footage all the way up and down that highway to see if he left that place,
right.
what he brought in, was in his truck, everything. There's rumors that there was chlorine or bleach smell in the house. It's just a rumor. I haven't found anywhere that says it's definitive that is exactly what was in the house. Of course, we don't know. It's a sealed search warrant. And
well, let's make a point about the bleach before you move any further on that. If in fact he, or let's just say the suspect, if the suspect would have used bleach doesn't necessarily clean a scene for what maybe had happened if it was a murder homicide. And that's somewhat of a falsehood that people don't understand.
Chlorine, not necessarily bleach, but basically the same thing, right?
Right.
Chlorine.
So, I mean, still, though, it's not going to necessarily, for you to have a true cleaning, most people don't know how to do that. I mean, there are professional companies that can come in and do cleanings for homicide scenes and things like that. But again, going out, maybe if somebody purchased bleach and they try to clean up a scene, that it's going to still be there. There's going to be some evidence somewhere. So it would be to entertain to look at all that and try to see if I could go back and find any of that. So there's definitely this case from the other case that I come on here and talk with you about. There's definitely more things that kind of lean one way more than the other one.
Yeah. Dana had a couple of questions. What?
Sally wanted to know, do you have to have the physical phone to get the records? And the other question is from Venus. How often does Colorado use a grand jury? In cases I've seen in Colorado, it is decided by the DA whether to charge or not. Do y'all know that?
Well, they'll do. I'm going to tell you how it is in most places with a grand jury. The grand jury actually can find fault, and the DA can decide not to charge. It's hard. It's not done that a lot, but I have seen it done that way. For whatever reason, the DA looks at it and says, you know what? They just got it wrong. We're not charging. And it's not hardly done that way because it's a bad political move on their case if the grand jury indicts somebody or thinks they're basically the grand jury says, yes, I believe we have enough to charge this person. Okay. They submit the indictment, but the DA has got to look at that and to say, you know what? They may have enough evidence to arrest, but I don't think I have enough evidence to convict. So at this time, we're not going to charge him. It's a DA. It's 100% the DA. You remember we had the local case here. We had a counsel, I can't think of how he was, had a guy accused of murder, tried, mistrial, I think was what happened. You remember the guy from Mobile, you know who he is.
Shot the blonde-headed lady.
Shot the blonde-headed lady, or the blonde-headed lady. They claimed it was. But anyway, it took it to the grand jury, and I think there was maybe enough. Maybe they felt like they had enough to charge him, but they ended up not charging him. And I don't know if it was a DA that just didn't want to prosecute him, but I do remember, the guy did walk from that. He did do some prison time, I think, for a gun or something, but other than that,
I think it's called, Melinda said it's called closed jury. Maybe it's called a closed jury in Colorado. Don't forget to answer the question about the phone.
But the phone records, I'll say this. If I think the police can get some phone records, like calls in and out coming to that number. But as far as text messages and stuff like that, they're going to have the phone before they can get that off of that phone. One thing
it would be an NSA thing.
Well, I know
they
that
would have to go to.
The husband in this case did surrender his phone. So, and I know that one of his workers, I think her name was Morgan, she did surrender her phone, even though that apparently they didn't. The husband did not like the fact that she surrendered his phone. There was some talking back and forth between people, even her saying that they got mad because she surrendered her phone. Now, his phone, I think, would be pretty crucial. The one, there's in this case, I don't know if you read this, Tony, but the night she disappeared, the time why she disappeared, around 10:30 that night, I think it was, or she was on the phone with her best friend talking about a wedding that they were supposed to attend. In fact, I think they were supposed to do a virtual wedding the next day, actually. And
well, I remember that it was basically at 12 midnight. She apparently had her profile. People were randomly sent to friend her.
Right.
And there was a bunch of males on
out of character for her. Yeah.
Right. Which was, and then there was no activity after that. So,
and she was on the phone. She was on the phone with her friend texting, and then all of a sudden her phone went completely dead. And her friend tried to call her, tried to text her, nothing. So, and then shortly after that night, about 12 o'clock, a bunch of males got these friend requests from her Facebook page, which, that could be accessed from anybody, that could be to throw everybody off, to make it look like she was there, online or alive at that time. I don't know if you noticed, there was supposedly the house had security cameras all around it, but they were not working the night of her disappearing. None of the security cameras were working. Her daughters.
I saw something. Yeah, I saw something about that, and that's
another thing. I don't know if you saw he first refused to do a press interview with the sheriff and everything like he did the press conference. He refused to be at the press conference. He also said it was too soon to post anything. He finally did this little Facebook post, 25-second Facebook post where I don't know if you watched it or not, but I mean, the guy's shaking his head no the whole time. I mean, he's talking and the body's saying no. We want you back. We miss you. No. I mean, just common stuff.
That's what I was trying to explain to you a while ago about body language, if you remember.
And GoFundMe page was set up 2 days after she disappeared. Now, he lives in a $1.5 million, $1.7 million house, but why set up the GoFundMe page? I don't understand that. He didn't attend any of the press conferences. That's what.
Introduce Tony. A bunch of people have come in.
A bunch of people have came in here late.
I am a nobody.
Tardy late. Tony is a good friend of mine. He is a retired law enforcement professional. He has vast experience in homicide investigations and other stuff. He is a paramedic also. So back in the day, he could shoot you and then he could save your life all at the same time.
Well, it's funny that you would say that. There was quite a few times that I had to actually take somebody into custody and then give them medical aid.
Medical aid to him when he needs it.
Because y'all scared him to death.
I will tell you one funny little story real quick. I know that Mr. T over here knows this story because we've talked about it before. But it's really amazing when you pull somebody over for speeding or some sort of traffic violation or whatever, and then you walk up and then they say, I'm having my husband or whoever's having a heart attack in the car, and we're trying to get.
Okay, we're back. We were
Okay,
blank, we were dark black. We blacked out for a second. I think NSP hit us with hit us with something there.
All right, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I got you.
All right, I was going to tell you about a little quick story. Can you hear me?
Stories.
Go ahead.
All right. If you remember this story, I'm sure, or it will reflect a memory in your mind about this story, because you and I joked and cut up about the fact that this way that it happened. But I remember, well, actually more than once this happened, but one in particular stopped a car for traffic violation, and they said in the car that one of the persons in the car was having a heart attack, and they were on their way to the hospital. Well, of course, which way they were going was basically 25 miles from a hospital, but if they went back the other way that they were coming from, they were only 12 miles away from the hospital. And then, of course, I told him, I said, well, okay, just a second, I'll be right back with you. Of course, I got an ambulance en route. I went, got my paramedic bag out of the police vehicle, come back, had an EKG, and ready to start an IV on. I'm ready to do everything that paramedics will do to treat somebody for a heart attack, as they say. And then they said, well, we were going to go to the hospital. I said, yes, but you need to go in an ambulance, and you're going the wrong way. And I explained to them, we need to turn you around, go back there, but I'm going to stabilize you if you're having a heart attack. And then, of course, it was a gentleman. He said, I think I'll be okay.
Yeah. When they think they're going to jail or something like that,
Yeah.
something, they all
So then they didn't want to be treated for, because they weren't having a heart attack. So
thank you very much, Melinda. Thank you very much. We appreciate that very much. We do. Yeah, me and Tony do make a good team together. We've been there, and he's seen me at my best and my worst. Me and him, in 1 week during spring break, we were working together. I worked a fatality on right in the middle of the road. An older woman stepped out in front of a car and got killed. And then, like 2 days later,
we were on bicycles.
We were on bicycles, and a woman got hit by a car, and would it cut her leg off or something?
Nearly, and she was crushed in her chest.
And so, listen, Tony can do great with handling all that emergency medicine stuff on people. I'm like, no, I'll just direct traffic over here. I'll be fine.
I do remember, and I hate to bring this up because it is kind of yuck, but I do remember you and another individual that we were out there with both walked away because you had to go to the side of the road to disperse things.
Yeah, absolutely. It was not.
And I was hollering at y'all. I need you to get me some stuff.
3 days later, I was waiting for him at the corner of an intersection. He was coming in to ride with me again, and a little 11-year-old boy runs out in front of a car and gets killed. Yeah. And I see the accident, and then we go over there, try to revive him. It was a very, very bad scene, but it was all three in 1 week. And that had did me in that whole week. It was not a great night for me. And,
I see somebody.
Maui, thank you very much.
I want you to know, I figured out tonight I can see comments. I didn't realize I could see comments on what people were saying. I clicked on that because I thought we were just in this private chat thing or whatever, and I clicked on comments, and I saw all these comments popping up.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I see Roanne 2U saying, "Oh my God, LL, picturing you guys on bicycles." Yeah, it was a bad scene.
Yeah. Well, listen, we were not this big back then. I mean,
we didn't have a plumber's problem. I don't think.
Neither one.
We didn't keep our shirt tucked in. Yeah, we didn't. We kept our shirts tucked in, so we didn't have a plumber's problem.
But yeah, it was a beach town area, so we had during spring break. You have to remember these cars were backed up a mile, 2 miles long, and you could just walk in between the cars and get people for drugs, for underage possession.
It was crazy.
It was what they call a target-rich environment. That's for sure.
Well, it was almost like we were fishing with dynamite.
Yeah, that's about right. We couldn't. I mean, it was just you just basically fill out the front page of the arrest report and hand it to the transport officer.
Right.
You see, I mean, they would go ahead and transport, and at the end of the shift, you'd have to remember who that was and what I did. Sweat of men on bicycle. But anyway,
what did you read? I didn't see that.
I don't know what that means. But yes,
they didn't wear speedos.
Oh, I see. Manuela Costa. I hope I'm not brutalizing your name. Lima, Swelt, something bicycle, men on bicycle. It popped up. I can't see it no more. But those were the days. I do see that part.
Yeah, absolutely. Those were the days for sure. We always look forward to spring break because there would be about 600 to 700 people go to jail in a 2-week period. But
right.
it was.
Oh, I see. Beach Bum made a remark about closed jury versus grand jury. If a jury is impaneled, all juries that are grand jury type scenarios are closed. They're not public.
No, but recently they in the Lawana Taylor case where they had the search warrant to come in they ended up being a gunfight battle and the paramedic girl got killed.
Right.
They sealed that grand jury, and then because they are closed and you're not allowed to know what goes on in a grand jury. However, a judge comes out and says, we're going to release the grand jury testimony, which is fine if they want to do that. But what I saw that was very disheartening was they had one of the news agencies had 4 or 5 of the people in the grand jury. They were darked out, and they basically said, no, we want to. What the heck? I don't know why my screen keeps going black and then coming on for some reason. But, I think in that particular case, a lot of stuff's going to come out later on about that where, it's a bad thing that girl got killed. There's no doubt in my mind that's very bad. But it's also bad that somebody was shooting at the police from that bedroom. So, they're going to do what they're going to do to return fire to protect themselves. And it happened. A bad thing happened. There's some people going to, there's a lot of bad stuff and a lot of people, there's going to be millions of dollars awarded in this case.
I saw where I'm assuming that your lovely wife is saying that now we're older, slower, and talking machines.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Getting back to this case, of what I don't know if you saw where Andy, the brother of Suzanne, he formed a big search. He had people out there, and they had tracking devices, and they searched the whole area. They did have 3 or 4 positive hits by cadaver dogs, and they did the sheriff's department.
They had a hit. Yeah, I saw that.
They did finally go out there and
go hunting or something.
But I'm wondering if that dogs hit on an area, but they only searched just that area where the dog hit. I'm wondering if that could be, a bigger area needs to be taken up than just about
it could be
a coffin or something. I don't know.
It obviously could be.
But my theory is chances are that she's alive now are kind of small. But if she's buried somewhere, I don't think it'd be anybody's property that my suspect would be tied to. I mean, why? Everybody said, I've heard the rumors, they're supposed to be buried in that wall that the husband's working on up there north near Denver. No, you're not going to bury somebody anywhere that you can that you can tie to anybody. If you're going to bury
Well, my biggest question,
bury it.
well, my biggest question that I could not find the answer to in looking up this information on this. I do see where they did a search warrant and they went back over there and busted the concrete and everything at this location to search that. I would be really inclined to know, did they really bust all of it up? Did they really excavate that area in its entirety, or was it just like in an area? Maybe they had a cadaver dog that hit in an area and then they busted only there. And I don't know.
The pictures I saw it looked like they took a concrete saw and sawed a place out about 5 by 7 feet, and then they dug down in there. Now, what I'm wondering is if there was some information, some rumor going around that they had ground penetrating radar, that they had the radar run across it and they picked up an anomaly. So then they went down. I know they did stay at that house. Somebody said 3 days, and they did siphon the ground. So they may, if they were siphoning through stuff, would tell me they may have thought they had a burn scene, that somebody burned their body and then they were trying to recover that, which I'm not sure.
Now, if you had, I mean, we don't know this. I mean, I hadn't read anything about it, but if they had sulfuric acid, or there's no telling.
Right. Well, if anybody watches Breaking Bad, they get all kinds of ideas.
Herzog said they just cut out the square. They did not bust out the whole area. Now there's a house on top of it.
Well, I'm sure
there's a house on top of it.
Yeah, right now there are. But I'm sure the FBI and CBI were pretty much
Tony, read retired Melinda's comment.
Also, they want to know if Tony the Tiger who rides on a bicycle will come on here more. Well, I'm not in charge of this channel. My friend here to my well, I guess it would be to my left or my right. No, it would be to my right.
I would love to have Tony on here anytime he wants to come on here, and I hope there's some other stuff I got planned in the future for Tony. But Tony teaches a paramedic.
Look what I've got on. See, I'm supporting you tonight.
Yeah, there you go. Tony teaches a paramedic class, teaching people how to be a paramedic. What days do you teach, Tony?
Oh, some weeks every day, some weeks I might only do one day. It depends on if we're doing testing or something, and I'll do a couple hours every day or something like that.
Do you know Anna, lifeguard down there?
I know several.
You know Angel's daughter, Anna?
Who?
Angel's daughter, Anna. She's a lifeguard.
I probably do and just don't remember. I mean, I am getting.
You are getting old, yeah.
You won't forget her. She should be a model.
Yeah. Angel.
Well, let me tell you this. Now, in all fairness, I am married to the most beautifulest woman in the world. So I don't really have to worry about looking into nobody for prettiness.
Most beautiful. I got mine there. But yes, we are going to try to have Tony on more. I've got some other things that in the future to talk about.
Somebody asked if he had been brought up to speed on the Lloyd case, Echo Lloyd.
No, we haven't talked about Echo Lloyd. I think he watched some of that last night.
I did get the tail end of it when you were live, when I started looking up the stuff on this case that we're talking about tonight, but I didn't watch the entire thing on that, just because I was obviously looking at this other stuff, and I wanted to obviously be versed in what we were going to be talking about tonight.
Yeah, and let me say this, Tony. Don't you agree with me though that with the current stuff that we know about, not what the police have, but just the current stuff we know about this case, there's not enough to arrest him on a pure warrant right now?
Not on just what they have. I guarantee you, I have a feeling that there is an investigator that is sitting there chomping at the bits.
Well, if they went into the house and they found a scene, see, we don't know. I know they brought out some bags, some pictures I saw. Looked
That's
like
what I'm
that.
getting at. We don't. Yeah, you and I do not know what they really might tangibly have as evidence,
If
and they still have to go and convince the district attorney, whoever the sitting district attorney is, to prosecute a case. A lot of folks don't realize this. The police sometimes might very well feel they have probable cause. They might even have tangible, physical, hardcore evidence. They might even have a smoking gun. They might have a video. They might have physical evidence that's in phone record, all the stuff that they would need to make an arrest. And guess what? There are sometimes we don't get to make an arrest.
Yeah.
Now, people can call that politics. People can call that favoritism. Unfortunately,
thank you, Kim. Appreciate it.
Our job in the law enforcement perspective is we are there to enforce the law, and we try to bring justice for the victims of crimes. But in retrospect, sometimes we have our hands tied too with the decision of politics. And I hate to say that, but it's true.
Right.
And I can say that now since I'm retired.
Yeah. And that's why we're hoping that the new DA comes in and really kind of takes hold of this case and goes with it, because I don't think the current DA wants to do anything.
Right.
They said that the current DA was a political figure. I mean, that's what they've said. Everybody I've talked to out there has said that. So the new DA is a big hope, because I read so much stuff about her, and she's just a hands-on pro-law enforcement, retired cop. She wants to work with it. I mean, everybody tried to tie her into the fact that, are you going to be tough on police too, that they're involved in this or that? And she said, look, we're going to lean on the facts of the case and not going to jump on the police just because that it's the type of time is attack the police thing. But tell Kim, no, that is perfect. I really appreciate your gift to us, and we do really appreciate it. But what I wanted to say was, there's a lot of stuff too that we didn't even talk about involved in this case. My prime suspect, and the one that, of course, I'm not the police working this, but and we have to say this, in my opinion, and I don't have any facts about this, but there's been a lot of vehicles bought. There's been land bought. There's been a guardianship done on of Suzanne's financial and affairs. The house, I understand, they has supposedly $500,000 of inheritance money that was in
here's the bigger thing. Because we were talking about that, when we started this evening. I talked about the fact that you've got some intriguing motives. I found it very troubling of something that I read where it said that with 14 days had passed that she was missing, and that there was already a push to have her declared deceased so they could move forward with stuff. Yeah. So I'm like, oh my goodness, if that's not a red flag,
well, I don't know what it is. I think what they were trying to do to establish a guardianship for their property and their finances. I don't think they could really declare her deceased for 7 years, but they can. It's just like in the Michael Chambers case that we talked about. She had him declared temporary dead, basically, within a month, or not even a month, of him gone missing. So that's basically what. Lynn, welcome to the membership. Lynn Frank, thank you very much. The fact is that, why, when you declare guardianship of somebody's finances, you're basically letting that person have control over your money and assets. And, that, like you said,
here's the thing.
To me too.
But I'm still, I don't know, maybe call me old fashioned, but 14 days, it's not going to be that there's a credit card bill that's going to really be an issue. The power bill, the water bill, bills come in, whether there's somebody there or there's not somebody there, and they get paid. It's just, I don't know. I understand when it comes to selling property, cars, and things like that. I get all that, but 14 days? No.
Well, I know that
Bye.
the husband went up to Indiana and tried to get the father of Suzanne to sign off on some papers so that he could get this guardianship, and he refused. So he managed to get it some other way. I don't know if he had I don't know how he did
It said one of the daughters or something.
Yeah,
about
maybe. I mean, I'm not familiar with that much with Colorado law, civil law, criminal law. I'm sure is something similar to what we have now, but even in Alabama or any other state. But yeah, right. I mean, why? It's just like with the Chambers case, the Michael Chambers case. We're still going to follow this case because I believe that Michael Chambers was foul play and not suicide. But his wife tried to get him declared temporary dead within 3 weeks of the disappearance, cut off his phone. You know, a whole lot of things that you're going to say, what in the world? What are you thinking? I mean, just like
yeah,
that.
I mean, people, I mean, you and I for literally 30 years have dealt with everything from suicide, homicide, missing cases, persons, things like that. And I mean, I can look back and think about times that even people had a person that they had that was a for sure suicide. They committed suicide. They wouldn't turn their phones off. They wouldn't sell their vehicle. They wouldn't do anything because that was to them the only thing left, right? That was the only thing left of that family member. So I'm just telling you, you've got to look at human analogy in some things and common sense in some things. Now,
Exactly.
I'm not saying that there's not weird things that people do, because we both know, we've seen some weird things that people do. But when it comes right down to being human, you look at basic instinct. Basic instinct, that's one of the 101 things, as they say, homicide 101 or investigation 101, whatever you want to call it. But when we study or we try to understand a crime, we have to try to put our minds into especially if it's a homicide scenario, the sicko that did it, and then try to formulate from that what happened, how it happened, gather the facts and such and so on. But again, I look at basic human instinct, and basic human instinct is not those things.
Brittany's son.
Yeah, I agree. And hey, I just wanted to say in the comments, AK, buddy, we miss you being online, and miss your partner being online. And I come over to the channel all the time, and they have Tony. If you ever have a chance, go look at Two Crime, and AK is one of the others that is involved in it, and just great people, and really.
AK, is that like another channel like you have?
Yeah, it's similar to this channel. One thing is these are good people because all they want to do is find Suzanne, and they are working. We got the Draper brothers. They're working in Salida, and a lot of other people, and all they want to do is find Suzanne. And it is troublesome to me and you. I know that the police are being so silent on this, but I can tell you, because me and you both have worked cases like this, sometimes we want to just chomping at the bit to tell everything we know. But if the evidence gets out there, too much evidence gets out there, then they can muddy a lot of the waters. AK, yeah, we're wanting something to chew on for sure.
Well, another thing that you have to put into perspective here is this too. When certain cases might be even a high-profile case, you don't want you really don't want the case tried in the public, in the media, before you get to go to trial, to try to give the defense attorney a means to muddy up the water just as much or whatever too. You want things to really come to, a professional light of things. And everyone is, regardless of what we might think about people that kill people, and we obviously, it's wrong, but they do get a fair trial.
Let me say this real quick. I want to give a shout out to our youngest listener, Jax. Okay. Jax, we appreciate you listening tonight to our live stream. They tell me, I just got a message that he is listening tonight, and me and Tony want to say hello. We appreciate you listening.
Well, can I tell him what he said? Jax just said, "Hey, I know that guy. That's the old guy at the shop talking about our shop. Mama, he's famous. He's got a YouTube channel, and all I need is to get his autograph."
The old guy.
Well, let me tell everybody out there, Mr. T right here, he's given out a whole lot of autographs during his time.
Let me highlight AK real quick. AK just said something I'd like to talk about a little bit. He says if there was a witness who was at the same road at the same time as Suzanne that saw a car out of place, this witness lives within a mile of the Morphew home. Boy, AK, if there was a witness, that would be great, especially if the car out of place
says, this witness info was given to the CBI on November 3rd, and they never spoke to this witness to this day.
I can't understand. That's weird. That why does law enforcement not take every lead serious? That is crucial,
Well, we talked about that, if you remember, and the first time I came on here with you on the other case with Pawpaw.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, you do have people in positions that do investigations that they don't have the training, and they get put in these positions, and they're, some honestly get put in positions not necessarily because of politics. Some do get put in positions because of politics, but in both cases, it could be that they didn't have the training to do the case.
This is not, we're talking about possible homicides too. That's the thing. AK, I hope, the best thing that information could, if it doesn't get to the police, it needs to get to the news media.
Yeah.
The news media can light a fire under the police down there to get some of this stuff done. I just, as retired law enforcement, both of us, we just get so upset and aggravated when law enforcement drops the ball, that I just get so aggravated when I see something that is obviously, have you ever, I know y'all have heard this, that a grand jury can indict a ham sandwich.
Mm-hmm.
What they mean by this is the DA that is inside a grand jury really tells the grand jury how to vote, or they can. They're not supposed to, but they can, because the defense attorney's not in there. So the DA can just say, look, this is obviously against the law, and this is obviously a crime on this apps or whatever. They can indict a ham sandwich. I mean, that is the honest to God's truth. But a lot of times in the current day and time, the grand juries are getting a little bit more inquisitive on whether or not they believe the police. And some of it's good and some of it's not good. I mean, I'm not talking about guys that police brutality. I'm talking about anything. Whether I remember a trial, for instance, it was a trial I was involved in, that it was a predator case. And my wife happened to be there watching the trial. And the jury, the extra jury, the alternate was up there. And the alternate came back and asked her, "Is that your husband up there testifying?" And she said, "Yes." And he says, "Well, we didn't believe him in his testimony. He said that the guy begged him not to charge him
On his
hands and knees. We didn't believe him. We thought the officer was lying. But when the guy got on the stand and said it, I got on my hands and knees and begged him not to charge me." He said, then they looked at each other and said, "Well, I guess he was telling the truth." Well, what make them think that I would lie? I mean, I never gave them any indication that why I would not tell the truth. So that just goes to show you, juries are getting to where they just because he's of what the news media says, they say, well, that can't be true. But AK, I hope that they would get in touch with the press, because that's the only way that stuff like that's going to get reported. And that's a shame. That's a true shame if the police don't do it. Don't go out and question him.
Anthony needs a new battery in his clock.
Oh, Medina said you need a new battery in your clock behind you.
I didn't say that. Somebody else did.
Oh, somebody called his attention to it. I don't think it's.
Oh yeah, the second sign is just hitting the 8 like this. Okay, I'm sorry.
It's on TV.
My background is not as really fancy, and everything is my friend here to the right of me.
Yeah,
which is left on the camera.
Okay. Out of place acting aggressively in what witness saw. Wow. Well, I tell you, AK, I hope that does get back to the right people. He did an interview, Day 9 post
missing Fox
News.
Interesting.
That is interesting for sure. A lot of stuff with this case, I feel like is, if the sheriff would just come out and say, we have a person of interest and we're following this up, or we have a person.
I'm curious to wonder this. I'm curious to wonder this. Now, some people might know this, some people might not know this, but a lot of your newer vehicles that are post 2007, 2008, they have uplinks in the vehicle that are always uplinked. They can actually go back and track the vehicle. I would be curious to wonder if his vehicle was back over there at their house, or if his vehicle was at their
they did pull.
In other words, if he was trying to think outside of the box by means of, let's say, I'm going to leave my phone at the hotel. Okay, we might still have another way to track that. So you see what I'm getting at?
They did pull his GPS out of his truck.
Okay.
He apparently had a commercial GPS mechanism, and they did, and he's already been tracked. However, and that's one thing that Andy, the brother of Suzanne, said, that his testimony of where he said he was does not match his truck. But here's the thing. He takes this Bobcat with him everywhere he goes. Okay? His worker Bobcat. So what I said was he could very well park on the side of the road somewhere, get that Bobcat, head up into the woods, and, they may never find. Or he's got several other vehicles, and I was thinking maybe he had a work truck that didn't have that sophistication on it. It'd be easy.
Well, that is a good thing. That is one good thing that you just brought up that kind of clicked into my mind thinking about this. When he called the neighbor, they went. She supposedly went over there, and it does mention that their vehicles with an S were still there at the house. So, yeah, there could be multiple vehicles.
I think they had 2 Range Rovers or something like that were at the house. Okay. And the thing about that is, Tony, is he brought the bicycle story to life. He tells the neighbor, go back over there and see if her bicycle's there. See, he brings the bicycle story to life. Nobody saw her.
Oh yeah. When he called saying, "Well, go check and see if her bicycle's there."
Right.
Yeah, that was.
Nobody saw her on the bicycle to begin with, not once. And some other property was recovered supposedly by the police a couple of days later during their searches, but they're not saying what that property was. Now, it could have been staged, it could have been anything.
Now, I didn't see anything about this. Maybe you have knowledge of this. Is the area that their house is located and everything, was this a very rural?
It is very remote.
Very remote. Okay.
Now, there's other houses in that area, but it is like, I want to say, one of y'all online, correct this for me. It is maybe 10 to 15 miles outside of this Salida, or 5 to 6 miles. It's a good ways out, and there's like houses around it, but it's not. They're like very few and far between. It's like they're not people like next. I mean, I think he had like 10 or 15 acres there, and his neighbor has down the creek. It had some, it's big houses, but it's mountainous. I mean, it's not like in the city. It's not even like a real rural area. It's more like I don't know how to explain it. It's more like it's not even in a town per se. It's just kind of rural outside of the area. It's very expensive, but it's because it's Colorado,
Right. Well, I say that what we need to do, especially before we end tonight, is let's just kind of pull out some things that are what I told you like before, red flags. I see a red flag in the fact that the time of how all this transpired. I see there's a flag in the fact that he went to do a job on Mother's Day, even as someone like you and I or whatever that's worked in the public service, we might have to work on a holiday or whatever, but most people that have, their own businesses and stuff, they're not going to go on a Sunday and do anything like that on that particular day, even if they're a man and it's Mother's Day and not Father's Day.
Right.
But that kind of, was kind of weird. Then I got to looking at the other events, such as, yes, I did take into consideration the girl that worked for him, and I saw something that they even said something that she might have been in an affair with him at one time or something of that nature. And I think I read comments, some people didn't believe her, some people did believe her. Regardless of whether they believed her or not, the validity of backing up that he supposedly was supposed to be doing this job, he said he was going to be doing this job, and the date of in question and how that all transpired with the timing from start to finish and all that just really didn't add up. Then it was the issue that I believe he actually found the bike. If I'm not mistaken.
No, he didn't find it. Supposedly that I don't know exactly who found the bike. I think
I'd have to go back and read that. I just remember there was a debate about
the friend found the bike.
Okay, it was a friend. Okay,
or somebody like that found it.
Well, I remember reading something about, and I didn't find more about this. Maybe you know more about this part. Something about hitting a sign, maybe a stop sign, or something. I'm not really sure. There was something I remember speed reading over about that. Something about a sign. Do you know anything about that?
No, I think that there were some signs in the area that when somebody showed a them where it looked like a bicycle may have hit a sign, but that's not been defended.
Oh, okay.
It could have been at any time. One thing I want to say, AK was commenting over here.
I see George Davis found the bike.
And George is, I think, the so-called Army veteran that did 400 tours in Afghanistan. Was that the same guy? Am I correct in that? If somebody will correct me on that.
Okay.
But I want to say AK made a thing about the new DA coming in, and I'm 100% agreeing with him that I believe that everything is down to the new DA. The new DA, I believe, is going to come in and do an indictment on this.
Okay.
I really do.
Coffee Girl wants to know, do you think that it's possible the sheriff made the statement to let Barry believe he's off the hook?
No, I don't think so. I think that there's enough evidence out there that that the people that did this need to be worried about it. It's not, and we don't know what was found in the house. That is the number one thing. If they came in there and they, we don't have anybody that saw all the evidence being taken out of the house. I remember, and we talked about this before. If somebody said, "Well, what about there's no body? You can't prosecute him." If there's evidence in the house that gives the impression that, say, a loss of a lot of blood, that somebody couldn't lose that much blood and still live, then that's just as good as having a body. That's what they had. The car that was found, I think the Blanchard girl that was found, that was kidnapped out of Auburn, found the car in Montgomery, and I've made reference to this before. And the car had so much blood in it that the coroner said whoever lost this blood could not have lived, and they ended up charging the person with murder, even though they didn't have a body. But the body was later recovered, but that was, they did charge him with that.
Okay, who found the bike?
The bike was found, wasn't it found by the friend of Barry's friend?
Okay, somebody thought
Barry's.
I don't know. That's what I'm asking. Does somebody know that for sure?
It was somebody said back in when we were, I'd have to look back. George Davis found the bike.
Okay, y'all realize there's 3 of us reading these questions and we can't keep up.
Yeah, I probably needed to, excuse me a minute. I probably needed to put everything on slow-mo on I need to do that sometimes. Melinda, what are you talking about? I don't. You are talking to someone about something, but I don't.
Said she's turned in
somebody
into the federal CID military for criminal charges to be filed for falsifying government docs and claims they are on George and his.
Okay, AK says a deputy found the bike, but George came later, like 20 minutes later. Yeah, and that, yeah, we don't know too on somebody steered him in that general direction or what.
Does Barry have an attorney yet?
I don't know that Barry has an attorney. He needs one. Yeah, in my opinion, he needs one. Probably needs 2, but I don't know. If I was him, I would have one. I mean, that's what I said that all along. But just because they have an attorney doesn't mean they're guilty of something. A lot of people, if they are a suspect or being held out as a suspect, a lot of times they'll get an attorney.
Well, think about how many times.
Think about
how many times you can have a witness that comes in and tells us stuff. I think you and I are talking at the same time. I'll hush.
Barry has no attorney. That's what AK says. And AK and them have a lot of information. They're out there. That's what I can't understand about this. If I was Barry and all of this stuff was going this way and everybody had these suspicions, maybe it's because they think it'll make them look guilty if they have an attorney, but I don't go along with that myself.
Hey, if they tell me they want to read me my rights, my first word is attorney.
That's right, exactly. Okay, Tony, what were you going to saying?
Oh, I was just saying, think about how many times though we do have witnesses that have come in and they'll write out a full statement on whether it be a policeman even of a complaint to, Joe Schmuckatelli out in the, out in the neighborhood, and say whatever they're going to say. And then we go and investigate, and it finds out that they just bold-faced lied. So you have to, every little thing, we talked about this when we were dealing with Papa's case, and we can't stress this on any time we probably talk about any kind of case, if you allow me to come back again, but is that everything has to be literally, as they say, every stone needs to be uncovered, and you need to really thoroughly, you can't just take everything that somebody says into full context that it's the, gospel truth. You really have to look into it and see what facts are. And that's how we do, in fact, do cases, is we pull the facts out of the statement.
Right.
So, because think about all the times that they've proved where they'll show like a little 5-year-old kid, and they'll tell a story, and they'll put in all these, extra unicorns and elephants and whatever else, and then they, then you finally say, okay, well, this is factual parts of it, and this is, they kind of make that. I mean, it's more about sensationalism.
Tony, it's kind of weird about this whole case down there too is all of these houses out in there around his house, including his house, supposedly had security cameras, but not a single one of them caught anything on it. Didn't catch a bike ride, didn't catch nothing on it. And it's just weird. It's weird.
Yeah. Now, do you know, or does anyone know, because I didn't see, I hadn't seen a map of the residence or the neighborhood or whatever. I was kind of curious to know how far away was the bike found? Does anybody know that?
I think as a crow flies, it was something like a half mile to a mile as a crow flies. If that is in, y'all correct me if I'm wrong on that. I do remember a map, and it was kind of down. The road actually ran around their property and came down, and it was just the way I remember it. It did cross down through a place, kind of go up a little hill and around where the bike was found. But I want to say the bike was found like
a quarter mile.
Quarter mile. Somebody says
quarter mile.
So yeah, quarter to a half mile away. So, it's let's just say the evidence of an abduction. Let's just say I don't see it. I don't see any evidence other than the fact their bike was found like there.
Well, I don't think anybody in today's age would not have a cell phone, not have something with them, especially in a setting like what I understand that y'all have described, the location of where these houses are and everything. I mean, there's too many. Again, I kind of go back to human basic instinct on some things, and what typically would someone do in this situation? What typically would someone do in that situation?
Right.
So,
one thing too, I was thinking about is, I went ahead and as a part of looking into this case, I pulled the sex offenders in that county. There's 24 known sex offenders in that county they live in. Now that's a pretty rural county. Chaffee County is a real rural county. I don't think that there's any kind of big cities in Chaffee County. And then out of that 24 sex offenders, most of those are for child porn and stuff on screen. There were like eight rapes that would be classified somebody that I would look into right away if I was going to investigate the sex offenders in the area. And out of that 8, none were close to this, where this was. And this was kind of out of the way place to be riding a bike. It's not like someone would ride a bike through there or cruise through there just to try to abduct people that are riding bikes through there. It was just, you know what I mean? It was so out there.
hmm
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I don't know. There's lot of things that just don't add up. I mean, it really don't add up. I mean, I I can tell you this too. Like, my wife she loves watching that show that I even made mention about when we were talking um, about Papa's case. I think it's the 48 hours or
Right. 48. It was the first 48.
first 48. Yeah. Anyway, though, she watches a lot of those crime dramas and things like that, and investigative documentaries, and um, she's talked to me about some of the cases and stuff. And then I've occasionally, will sit in there and watch some of them too if I'm not falling asleep. Well, but but they are, anybody can. What I'm saying is this: anybody can watch some of these cases, and they will begin to see what you and I are talking about humanistic patterns and how these investigators go back and try to recap those clues through normal human patterns. Now, do we try to find out a whole lot about the victim and what their normal patterns are? Absolutely. But then you take those patterns and then you put it with what are normal human characteristics patterns, and then you try to match those things, and then you corroborate what may or may not have been the timeline, if you will, of what took place from A to Z, and such as this case too. I mean, this is a very, very sad. All of these cases are sad. Don't get me wrong, but it's a very, very sad case to see this situation, and it has went so long now into it that there's not been some more light shed, a little bit by now, based on some of the stuff that I read, and I'm sure you read. I'm just kind of distraught about that.
Well, we can look at, as law enforcement officers, when we look at a case, and it's just like you're saying, we look at every possibility, and then we take.
Wait a minute, Lynn, I gotta make a remark here. Lynn G says, "So sorry." Hold on a minute, it skipped up. So sorry, I'm confused. Are we saying it may not have been Barry? Are we saying it may have been someone else?
I don't think we're saying either way, really.
I don't think we're saying either way. We're merely talking, though, about what we have viewed as what they have presented as facts for us to go on.
Yeah,
and based on alibis and things of what the husband may or may not have done or been doing, the alibi, as I already said earlier this evening, it's like a wet napkin. I don't really think it can hold the weight that was stated about it. But that's my opinion, I guess.
Yeah, and what I was saying is, as an investigator, you look at the whole thing. You look at everything that could possibly happen.
And somebody said, make no decisions until evidence is outed.
That's right.
And that's absolutely right. But when we do an investigation, if we have leads or anticipations of what we would be like a breadcrumb trail that might be left from the suspect, then we are going to follow those breadcrumbs to see where that leads. Now, if the breadcrumbs lead to the suspect and then we have the suspect, then we're going to still go a little bit further. And how are we going to articulate that even though he might have been dropping breadcrumbs and the bread might have come from the scene of the crime, that doesn't necessarily mean that the bread wasn't picked up by somebody else and handed to him somewhere down the line. So what I'm trying to say is this: we are still going to be more thorough in trying to articulate that person, even when we catch them or wherever the trail leads.
Yeah, and it's like I was saying, when you first come on the scene, you look at everything. In this particular case, they've got to look at, well, what is the odds of her being abducted? What are the odds? Now, when you go out to the scene, the bike is down off the hill. There's no evidence that an animal took her. There's just no evidence that an animal took her. One, that an animal's not going to drag them 4 or 5 miles away where you're not going to be able to find them. There's no blood.
That's right.
And when and what?
And if they canvassed the area and then they found the bike, they would have definitely canvassed around the bike to see if there was any evidence of something like that. Surely they would have. And then I noticed somebody made a remark: is it not normal for a spouse not to get out in the media and beg for his wife to be returned?
I think it is very abnormal for them not to.
Yeah.
I mean, if it was us, you don't think we'd be on the news every single night if they'd let us. Because, in my opinion,
especially when you got hungry.
We got hungry. I did read AK's comments. Yeah, I'm looking forward to any evidence that can come out, AK. And if you want to shoot me an email sometime, I'd love to talk to you about it. I think too that a lot of people, we can't 100% say that there was not an abduction. You can't 100%.
Right.
But the evidence that I have seen and what leads me into that direction of who I suspect, I mean, if I was, and I say this again, this is my opinion, if I was the police officer working this case, the husband would be my prime suspect. Now, why aren't they saying that? Well, because maybe they're wanting everything to be relaxed enough until the DA gets in there, new DA gets in there, and then they're going to move on the evidence they have. And, want to just, because there's plenty of time for evidence to be destroyed if a person knows that they're under suspicion by the sheriff. I'm just saying that.
Well, I would like to put this in as a little tidbit. Ever since we've realized more so, and it's become apparent across our nation and across the planet, if you will, about human trafficking, most of the law enforcement agencies now across the United States over the last, I would say, 4 years, they have been doing better training and programs for the law enforcement agencies within every given state in the United States. They are training them through a joint task training that goes on with the FBI, the U.S. Marshals, the U.S. Attorney's Office is in various districts, and they have trainers to come out and put on these conferences and classes. Mm-hmm. So most of the, and I will say most, not all, but most of the investigators right now have had that training in the last 2 years. I was fortunate to go to several of them myself. They gave investigators a new way of looking into getting and gaining intel and facts on missing persons that could very well been, whether it be an abduction or something like that. And then it still laid light into still a homicide trail to look into. And as we talked about before, not just tonight, but the night when we were talking together, investigators, if they really are good, if they get a call hypothetically of a missing person, right off the bat, whether it be if you find even a body and you think that it might be suicide, you still go into that scene, or you start gathering information or intel or facts or evidence and treat it as a homicide, and you rule out homicide based on what the investigation leads into. And you always think the worst first. And I hate to say that because nobody wants the worst, and nobody wants the police to say, "Oh, well, they're going to think that we killed our family member right off the bat. Y'all all know that we better get all our stories straight." Well, no, it's not necessarily that. Here's the deal: you shouldn't have to worry about getting your story straight if you tell the truth.
All right. You read that, says, please have Tony the Tiger discuss again how important crime scene technology is, experts training in vital cases like these, especially with small towns and lack of money and correct training is.
Okay, let me read this back. Let me slide back up. Oh, absolutely. Sarge, you're right on the money with that one. Hold on 1 second. Excuse me, had to sneeze. Sorry. Yes, you're right on the money with that, Sarge. We've got, unfortunately, there are agencies that are low budget scenarios, but like an example in the state of Alabama, the colleges that teach forensics, they have some baseline investigator classes even that are offered for free for the agencies that are even wanting to put a new investigator in training, and then they will actually go, they'll learn a class, they'll teach them how to collect DNA evidence, how to collect baseline, whether it be fingerprints and things like that, and they give them a kit, and the kit has, and they show them how to collect various pieces of evidence with the kits that they give them, and they're paid for free through grants. So there are some agencies that do send their people to it, but then here's the other problem that exists in your rural small agencies is they don't have the money even or the manpower to let someone go to the class, which is another drawback too. So it's not that they can't go and do the class for free. It's just they might have such of a small personnel issue that they don't even have, that all they have is enough to have patrol officers on the job, and that those patrol officers are not really investigators. And then that's where they lean back to our county agencies, such as if it's a small police department, then they'll lean back to the county agency to come out there. And unfortunately, some of those county agencies don't have the trained investigators that, they can solve cases, but they can't always solve cases. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, thanks, Tony. You're right. And I'll say this too. Well, I lost Tony just for a second there. I hope I can get him back here. We lost your feed, Tony, if you can hear me. But yeah, and AK, I hear what you're saying. If we can get the new DA to kind of get on the ball, I'm afraid though she's going to be watered down with a whole bunch of stuff that was neglected by the past DA. It sounds like there's another county that's got a bunch of missing people in it. Also, yeah. I can hear you fine, Tony, but I can't see you. I don't know.
I don't know why it's saying that I need to restart my cam, but it won't restart it for me.
Well, we're gonna call it in just a couple of minutes anyway, Tony. Thanks for coming on tonight. We will get you back on here as soon as we can. I know that these people appreciate you coming on here and sharing knowledge, and I'll be in touch with you. Okay, I'll call you.
Tell him to check into Echo Lloyd.
Check into Echo Lloyd when you get a chance. Just read over that. I checked in on that case. Did a case study last night, but there's some things going on there we need to look at again.
Well, I humbly appreciate everybody letting me come on and talk to you. I'll always say this, and I think Tommy, you would agree, because I've said it to you quite many times to many people. I'm a jack of all trades, but I'm a master of none. I learned through all of these years, and I've tried to go to as many classes and get as many certifications as I could. And I luckily was blessed enough that I had chiefs in positions that did send me to those classes and those trainings. And then I went to college and obviously got my degree and did in fact try to further my education. So saying all that is simply this: the investigators that are out here, I don't want anybody to interpret that I'm trying to dog them or say anything bad about an agency. It's just certain agencies and certain folks, they might have the heart to do the job and everything, but they either don't have the tools or the experience or the training to do it, and that's the sad part about it. So I don't want anybody not to respect or want to see their law enforcement officers get there on the scene and try to do what they can do. But in certain circumstances, you do need to contact whether it's the Forensic Science Division of the state or the federal agency if you had a true crime scene where you know the crime scene exists. If they don't have the tools necessary to get the DNA evidence up, or they don't have the ability to what we call canvass the scene to see if there's, whether it be blood splatter all the way down to DNA fiber and so on and so on. If they don't have that ability and all they have is just a person with a pen and a notepad, and that's all they got, they really need to, reach out to either it be neighboring agencies or whoever to really do these investigations.
Well, Tony, thanks for coming on, buddy. I'll be in touch with you, okay?
The new prosecutor.
All right.
All right. See you, brother.
All right. See you. Bye-bye.
The new prosecutor is Melinda's cousin.
Oh, really? Wow. That's great. That's awesome. All right, guys. I appreciate you bearing with us tonight, even though it's constantly some type of technical difficulties.
You're very fuzzy.
I'm very fuzzy.
You are so fuzzy.
I'm not fuzzy in my picture.
You're fuzzy in my picture.
That may be a good thing. But anyway, thank you so much. And yes, I did talk to Real Gone Adventures today by email, and I did give him the great. I'll go over to his channel and watch that video. I did give him a shout out, and also I did give him the number to get a hold of Shelby yesterday, or Miss Echo's daughter, and maybe we'll get some word on what's going on out there. It's a weird situation. After we got off, I learned some more stuff, and it's just kind of a weird situation.
And I have reached out. I've reached out to several family members of missing and told them we would love to highlight their stories. So I keep waiting to hear back. I did have one reach back out to me. She said she was going to pray about it and watch one of our programs to see how we handle things. So hopefully we'll have some more people coming on here to highlight the missing.
I talking earlier with one of our moderators here, and I don't want to say who it is unless they tell me I can, but I know AK and Two Crime and the Draper brothers and a few others, when they talk to people that come on, they do it with respect, but there's some people out here that don't, and I don't understand why. I really don't, and I'm not going to call them out. I think we know who they are, but I got a real deep respect for AK and Two Crime, and also for the Draper brothers and a few others that we have. I just got a really, really deep respect for them. And yeah, I'll be glad, AK, to pass that on to you if you just send me an email there at the missing livestream @gmail.com. She is Echo's daughter's information. She is needing some help out there. She really is. And she just can't get it from the police. I kind of think the police know more than as in this case, the police know more than they're sharing, because they told her that the disappearance did not happen at the house. And the only way they would know, only what they're saying to me when they say that, they are saying that they got a phone ping from somewhere else. They got information that it happened somewhere else. That's just what it says. Okay, well, as you can see, this is Colorado in the background here, out near Puma Path, and beautiful country out in that area. It's amazing. area. I have not been to Colorado yet. I have been to Montana, Wyoming, Utah, all that kind of stuff, but not Colorado. So
there might be somebody else out there that wants the old guy autograph.
yeah. But anyway, the old man's gonna retire for the night. So okay, thanks, buddy. I do appreciate that. Absolutely. You didn't have to, but I sure appreciate it. Every little bit helps. If you have not been over to AK's their page or Tube Crimes page, I don't know. Go over there. If nothing else, go over there. Recently, they posted a guy dancing. Awesome video. I really got a kick out of it. And visit Draper Brothers too, and anybody else that's actively plunder. She's good too. And we just absolutely love all these creators that are absolutely trying to do good and find Suzanne. That is the main purpose of this, is to find Suzanne and find the person that did something to her and make sure they face justice. That is it. No other thing here to do it. Yeah, Tube Crime did make an animated character of me in the last of one of the videos he did. I love it. Absolutely love it. Okay, guys. It is 100% of the mission is finding Suzanne and finding the person that did something to her. That's it. Absolutely. No other reason.
If you're an animated character, you need to be a superhero. Because you're my superhero. Make him a superhero.
No.
Just don't put him in one of those skinny outfits.
Yeah. Okay, well, we're going to go. I'm going to just go out because we're dragging on here tonight. But I want to just go out with a regular outro. And she wants to show one of the dogs doing something. So I'll show one of the dogs doing something, and then we'll go. Thank you. God bless y'all. Stay safe. Stay awake. Hope everybody can have a great night tonight. And visit all the other channels, the ones that are really serving a purpose and doing what they're doing out there. Thank you. Good night.
Ready? Dead dog. Dead. Bang. Dead dog. Lay down. 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 Dead. Dead dogs have their head down. Dead. Put your head down. Wait a minute. Look at that dead dog. Woo! Hey! Okay, down. Okay, yes, we got excited. Maggie, now you're going to quit, aren't you? Because I turned the camera. You talking to me? What? You got your grin on. Are you talking to me? Inside voice. Oh, that's not it. That's not an inside voice. What? Careful. You talking to me? That's good. Hey. Okay. That is good. Hey. You're using your inside voice. Inside voice. Oh, you better be careful. What do you want? Huh? Inside voice. That's cat food. You can't have cat food. All day long you've wanted that cat food. Maggie, listen to me. You cannot have the cat food. Do you know it? Hey, inside voice. Inside voice.